MyCore is on a mission to be the world's most people-centric company. The purpose of this podcast is to get to the core of people. I'm your host, Nathan Bourne, and I invite you to join me as we deep dive into the personal and professional lives of our guests. We're going to learn who they are, why they exist, and what they do. We're going to hear their stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly. In other words, we're going to talk to some really cool people. Welcome to the MyCore podcast. Hello. Welcome to the MyCore podcast. This is your host, Nathan Bourne, and I am stoked to be here with a dear friend, Kareen Mills. Hello, good morning. How are you?
Morning. It's great to be here. It's an honor. Thank you for having me, Nathan.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have this conversation with you. You and I go back. We were colleagues, acquaintances. Some years ago, we could tell a little bit about those paths crossing. But with your background and the way that you have just, it feels stepped fully into who you are, why you exist, your purpose is exciting, you know, and I want to get into that kind of arc. I get really floored by and just inspired by people that have found the through line between what they do, why they do it, but even more like who they are. Mm-hmm. And as I say right in the intro of this podcast, the purpose is to get to the core of people. And that's a unraveling kind of peel back the layer process, lifelong, you know, so in the next hour-ish, we might not know all your deepest, darkest secrets, but maybe one or two. So let's dive in. And I love this brand that you are building around with your book, Bankable AF. And for those of you that are afraid of curse words, that stands for as fuck. So I think, right? There's that some other
swear around here.
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah. In fact, I'll tell you this and then let's hear from you. I am a self-proclaimed cursing Christian. So I say, look, I'm going to offend you either way. If you're offended by my faith, sorry. If you're really stuck up about, you know, language, then I apologize for that too. I like to just give the disclaimer, a little inoculation up front that I just curse it, but I don't do it from like a place of malice. It's not like, and there's kind of an art form to cursing, right? Like you can kind of tell if somebody really actually can flow in their conversation, and it's like you don't leave the G out, you know. It's not ing. It's just like, you know, the way certain people talk from certain parts of the country. I'm from the Northeast, Ocean City, Maryland. We're like white trash, bro. Like let us be. Leave me be. So anyway, yeah, literally on my social media it says cursing Christian, and then I have the little cross emoji. So I like to put it out there up front and keep it real. So yeah, feel free to be yourself. So Kareen, tell me, you are living in Oregon, but were you born in this country?
Nope.
Yeah. Where are you from?
First of all, I accept you as a cursing Christian because I'm the same way, but you might be cursing more than I do, but I do curse.
Cool.
I always say God don't expect us to be perfect Christians. He does expect imperfect Christians to change his world, to make it better.
Amen. So I've been working on it for years. I mean, and I'm not a sailor or anything. I'm pretty capable of not doing it. I just have found that the best conversations I've had for both parties is when I'm just authentically there and present, and sometimes the passion comes through. So yeah, I also try to keep a little punch card. I have quota. The team lets me have like 2 F words. I think I already used them up. I get like, you know, a little bit. It's like a censorship, you know, like this is rated PG-13. You get like, you know, I can say ass or something, but yeah, no, good stuff. You feel comfortable, be yourself. And you are living the American dream. I mean, you are an immigrant that has come to America. And how long have you been in the US of A?
I always say I am the American dream. And I think
I love that.
A lot of people think you come from the exterior shore and the interior. I was born and raised in the Philippines, and I came when I was already 20 years old, Cinco de Mayo of 2000. So Been here 25 and some years. Um, when I came, I was 20 and I turned 21 the next month. So I was a full-blown adult. But story behind that, and I just actually realized it and I just researched this. When my grandparents started the sponsorship, that's what they call it, like, you
Okay.
know, we get sponsored by somebody that's legitimately here. And
Right.
so they sponsored their kids, who's my dad was one of them. They have, when they started, the age limit of dependence was 18 years old. And when my dad received um, the sponsorship letter that we were now allowed to start the process and go to the U.S. Embassy, et cetera, et cetera, I ran to my room and I cried because when I was 9, I always, you watched TVs and movies and Disneyland and all of that. Like you just dream as a child from a third world country. And I ran to my room because let me see, I was 20 at that time when we received it. And I knew then that when it started, the rule was 18. That was the age limit. So my 18 years old birthday was kind of like a bittersweet because we didn't get our sponsorship approved yet. And basically, my dream of coming to America became, it was over. So I ran to my room when we received the letter. I was 20. And then my dad said, "Oh, now the rules has changed. Kareen, you can come because it's now 21 years old." And I just researched it's called an age out problem. And I looked it
Okay.
up when this rule changed exactly because I've always believed that I'm here for a reason. There is a reason why I'm here.
Yeah. Amen.
And that rule changed for me and for me only.
That's so cool.
You could say, no, Kareen, it didn't. But in my belief
Oh,
system, it changed for me and me only. And it's called an age out problem. And when I looked it up, it's the Child Status Protection Act. It became effective in 2002. But it was the year 2000 when we left the Philippines. So I'm like, okay, if it became effective in 2002, why
right.
was it effective then? I mean, that there is a God, right?
Right.
Why was it effective then when I was 20 in 2000? When I looked at and read the whole thing, it said that while it was effective in 2002, they started adapting it in practice earlier than that. And that's why I was able to come with my dad.
Wow. That's like
Yeah,
literally Kairos, like perfect timing.
perfect timing. It
Yeah.
is. It's
Hey, you just said something that I think is really valuable. I don't even know that you realize you said it. Um, and I'm a big believer in this that it's this intersection, this tension between God's will and our will, free will.
mhm,
Um, we are all living self fulfilling prophecies, right? So it's like, as Henry Ford would say, whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right.
right.
And I just love your mentality, your mindset around that, because I think a lot of people either are too ruggedly independent, where they'll think that it is just all they're doing, which I think can create quite a bit of, uh, I don't know, arrogance. Like there's not a whole lot of humility typically that comes with that mentality. Yet on the flip side, particularly in like the Christian community, you get a lot of like, if God be it, and the Lord's will, and it's like, wait, what? Like, go exercise, dude. Like the Lord, no, He willed it already by giving you all those body parts and the 24-hour fitness that's down the street. So this kind of tension between like self-reliance, being a master of your own ship, and then like getting into the flow state of things that are meant to be. And I think most people, I know I do, particularly as a high caliber human, as I like to call it, that are like high achieving people, this is a very interesting tension and kind of conundrum. So I just love the way you said that. And I'm curious if you have any wisdom or kind of hot take on the balance between letting go and letting God and then doing the damn deal yourself.
Yeah, and you said that there's a tension, right, between those two, because you have the flesh and you have the,
Spirit.
we get
Yeah.
technical
Yeah.
in the Christianity world.
Yeah.
And I was raised as a Catholic, so I haven't always been the Christian that I am today.
Right.
But
The
it's,
Christian, I call it Christianese. It's just,
yeah,
it's a little bit of a language. Yeah.
similar, right?
Right.
It's the same lingo. We just have different dialects, just like my
Nuanced. Yeah.
country.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And so you have the flesh that operates in a different way, and then you have the trust process, which you just
Yeah.
trust the spiritual being, your angels, whatever you want to call it, your universe. Like, I know like a lot of the spiritual
Yeah.
people talk a lot about the universe and the frequency. And I want to clear this out for the people that are listening. When Nathan and I agree on
Yeah.
high caliber, it really is it's just because we operate in a very higher frequency, right? It's life is full of different frequencies, and you think
Yep.
about radio frequencies. You tune into a different frequency when you agree on certain things. But my take on that, I've always lived my life in trusting the process, because when I did it my way, and I'll tell you a story about me doing it my way, because I think
Yeah.
when I came to America, I basically, because my family always went to church on Sundays at the earliest was 6 a.m. And when you're young, you hated waking up early in the morning, like you sleep till noon or 1.
Right. That's miserable. Yeah.
It was almost a traumatic experience to always be forced to go to church at a very early time. And so when I came to America, I
I love
ran
that it's not like an early age. It's like, no, like in the morning. like I was,
away.
yeah, it's too early. It's like God, even God's like, we're good. Like, yeah,
And that
that's
was
fun.
it. Like I was too smart for my own good. And it's like, well, God, I'm sure God does not require you to go at the very
Right.
morning. There's
He's not confined by time and space. Why are we doing this so
yeah,
early?
there's a lot of masses. There's a 12 p.m. service. There's a 6 p.m. service. Why do we have to go to the earliest one? Anyways, now that I'm a mom and a parent, I understand, because there's a lot of things you got to do
You
to
got life. Yeah.
pay, and you got children. My mom had 6 kids. Um,
Wow.
and the thing of it is when I came to America and I felt like I had my own freedom, I ran away from all of that. And so my first adversity in America was I always say I came here with a broken English, and 4 months later, I went from broken English to broke,
Oh.
because I had a personal injury lawsuit that caused an $18,000 lawsuit. So I was
Wow.
minus 18, and I had no dollar to my name. And that lawsuit just literally forced me to grow up.
Right.
And figure out a way, how am I going to take care of it when I have zero money? So when I had to grow up, and then I had 2 jobs. First of all, America is full of systems that I did not know what to do. And so when we were served, it was me and my dad. My dad handed me the key. So here's why I believe in the spiritual, because this is why we're talking about this.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of instances in my life that when I separate from my, my religion, we can just
Right.
call
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
my life in my way, the way that I live my life without it started just crashing.
Mhm.
And then eventually I crashed back into God. And that's kind of what happened. Is there was a period of time in my life that
Mm.
I was doing it the way I want to do it. And then the adversity started to show up. Here's the thing about adversity, though, that I learned. how to view it, because now when there's an issue or a problem to solve, I get excited about it, and that's the spiritual side of me,
Right.
that's the friction is no longer there, because I've experienced this friction before, and I feel like adversities are just an opportunity for me to advance and level up. And it has been that way for me in my life. And so when I had that adversity, and it was August of 2000, we arrived in May of 2000. And I worked for Walmart as a cashier, layaway. That was my first job. I was so bored. And I had no friends. I had no life, basically.
Right.
I came here. I rode the public transit that is local to the city of Duarte, California. That was our port of entry, LAX. We lived in Southern California for the first 6 years. And my first ride was a $20 bicycle I bought from a garage sale. And then 2 years later, this is where the entrepreneur in me comes in. And my mom is the entrepreneur in our family.
Oh.
Um, 2 years later, I sold it for the same amount of money on
Right. That's awesome.
used it for free, right? And so
I love what Jim Rohn would say in his they were like CDs at the time, which I know people would listen to him even on tapes, but he would say, teach your kids to have two bikes, one to ride and one to rent, so the fact that you learned, like, wait, I can essentially come out at the same amount of money that I put in and get the 2 years of usage. That's a shift in mindset right there.
Yeah. And then at night, when it got later, I rode the public transit. And we also had a city public transit that was free.
Oh.
And that only run, a blue and a green bus that only run for up to 6 p.m., I think. But when I got my first check at Walmart, here's where the rubber meets the road, because I was just transitioning and becoming an adult. So I wasn't exposed to the banking system. I didn't have a bank account yet, because I left the country around that time where I was going to start, graduate college. I was going to start my own life and build my own life. I didn't get to have that chance until I came to America. So when I got here, here's another thing. When I got here, I was so bored. I rode the free transit to Walmart and turn in an application. And when I turned in, I'm very observant. Like, I could just sit in an airport and watch people and observe people. And when I gave her my application, she laid it on top of a pile of applications. And so in my mind, ding, ding, ding,
yep,
I'm going to put in an application every week. In 20 days, I got a job.
That's awesome. So you just realize, hey, they're not tracking,
who. So I to be fresh every week.
Right.
So put in a new one every week. So I did. In 20 days, I got a job.
That was smart.
And 3 months later, I got a job at Wells Fargo as a teller, because when I first got the check, it was a physical check. I gave it back to the lady and I said, I need cash.
Like she's going to give it to the HR person.
Yeah, she goes,
the manager.
She goes, honey, you need to go to a bank. I go, where's the bank? So I go to Wells Fargo. It was a Wells Fargo inside on Albertsons, like a grocery store. And then it triggered a memory in my mind. It triggered a memory in my mind that when I was a child, my grandmother, who was, the grandparents who sponsored us, when she came home from America, she would go to the bank, but she'll bring goods. Like, she was a great baker. She'll bring baked goods, and then she cuts in front of the line and goes to the to the break room, and then she gets her transactions taken from her while she's sitting in the break room. So for me, in business, food and treats are like this tool in business, or eating with somebody.
Cool. Yeah.
But when that memory also created the image of banker to me. So when she used to bring me there, I saw bankers. I loved how they looked, like as a child.
Yeah, totally.
Images and what you want to do when
They're well dressed. They seem
Yeah,
safe and smart, and it's like,
they
yeah,
look
that's a cool.
very smart.
Yeah.
So when I went to the bank and cashed my Walmart check, I didn't. First of all, I had to come back because I needed two forms of ID. So I had to get my green card,
Yeah.
and I had a California ID at that time. I didn't drive at, or no, actually, I did drive at that time. I had my driver's license and green card holder at that time. And I came back and opened my bank account, did direct deposit, and then I asked the manager, "Hey, how'd you get a job here?"
It's
Because
awesome.
it reminded me of my child
Right.
memory that I always wanted.
And this is your first paycheck from Walmart, right? Like you're level up, level up, level up like all the time, right? So you're like you're taking the check and you're like, I'm gonna get a job here. This is better.
Yeah, that's the part of spirituality. That's what I'm telling you. The story is that everything in life that you come across has a purpose, and
Amen.
it's going to lead you to the next. I call it the. Remember when we're a child? I don't know if you did because you're younger than me, probably a decade younger. We played like the connect the dots thing on a workbook.
Yep.
And so I always say that this is a dot. Like that check was a
Yes.
dot to connect me to my next dot because
Yep.
eventually I will have whatever
Yep.
vision, this big vision I have, eventually it will form if
Yeah.
I follow those dots.
It's good.
So that check was the dot connecting me to trigger my memory as a child to always want to be a banker.
So
So I
cool.
go, he gave me a hotline on the back of his card. It was a job hotline, and this is 2000, and Wells Fargo is beyond like very advanced, like
Right.
automated hiring process. It was already automated.
Wow.
Call this hotline, and you answer like 5 if you strongly agree, 1 if you strongly disagree, all of that, and they'll give it's a personality profile test.
Right.
Um, I failed miserably because Marcos, the manager, said, if you pass, you're going to get somebody on the line. You're going to get an interview on the phone.
Right. Right. So they're filtering through to even talk to you.
Well, I failed. So my next paycheck comes. It was direct deposit, but I still went to the bank to withdraw money. So I go, hey, I failed. What did I do wrong? He goes, so you have to be politically correct about
Mm.
your answers. And I go, well, what does politically correct?
Yeah. Right. You're like, what does that even mean?
Broken.
Yeah.
A lot of terminologies that was around me was foreign to me. I used to carry like a small pocket dictionary, so I can,
Really.
yeah.
That's amazing.
So then oh, got it, politically correct. So then
Right.
I go. There
You
was a
can't Google it at that time, like just right on
no,
your phone, like or
no,
AI can't just
nope,
translate it for you.
nope, nope. So I call back, and then somebody comes on the phone, and I'm like, what the fuck do I do?
You're like,
and she starts talking to me and everything, and then she tells me
Great.
you're going to get a letter in the mail that will either not hire you or you get invited to a group interview. Well, I got a letter in the mail inviting me to a group interview, and so I'll go back. Innocence is so bliss. When you
Right,
got
right.
a lot of things and then you're hungry, you're not ashamed to ask for help or questions. So
Yeah.
go back to the manager. I go, hey, I got this letter and, group interview. Like, what is that? Like, I don't know what.
Yeah. What does that mean? Yeah.
He goes, well, you're going to be in a group setting with probably 20 people and, they'll ask questions. And I go, okay, well, how do I get the job?
Right. Let's skip to that part. Yeah.
Just raise your hands whenever they ask questions. And I'm like, what? I have broken English and raise my hand.
Yeah.
They
That's
picked me.
amazing.
He said, I go, what if they pick me? He goes, well, you're going to have to figure it out, And
Yeah.
so I did. Long story short, I got the job, and
Amazing.
he pulled me. He called HR and said, I want her to be in this branch. So I got to work with him, and I worked from 10 to 2. And at that time, I only had the bike, and the bike wasn't really like a really easy bike to ride.
Right. For $20, what can you get?
Yeah, 10 to 2. And then I worked at Walmart from 3 to midnight.
And you are 19, 20. Like, how old are you at this time?
21.
20.
I turned 21 the next month. And then I walked to Walmart while eating my lunch, while walking. So I was really fit, right?
Right,
Eating
right.
my lunch while walking so that I could be on time, clock in and clock out at midnight. But it was lonely. When you're new to this country's very lonely existence. Eventually, I started making friends. Most of my friends were from work.
Right.
And every year I ask Marcus, my manager, I go, hey, I know I just got this job, but what's next? Like
Yeah.
the question of what's next has made me more money than anything else.
That's so good.
What's next? And every time I got promoted, every year I got promoted, I would ask him, what's next? And
It's
he would
great.
smile and say, gosh, you just got the job. And I go, well, I want to operate as if I already had the job right now, so that when I get it, I'm already working towards the next one. And
You're
so,
dropping so many nugs. I love it. There's a handful of books that I will write and have some of the initial like journaling. That the one that's closest is Lead with Who, which is really the kind of principle and premise, that framework, you might say, for our event that you're going to be speaking at, which we'll get into too. But Act as If has been, acting as if, and I want to write this book, Act as If, because there's such a nuance between the fake it till you make it and truly putting yourself in a future state now. And I love how you just said that you dress for the job you want, not the job you have, right? And for you to say what's next wasn't just because of restlessness or because you're, ADHD or something. It's because you're like, no, I'm going to act as if I already am the branch manager, and then I will manifest it. I will attract it. I will deserve it. And I think sometimes, you're sharing this kind of semi juvenile time in your career relative to the businesswoman that you are today. And it's like every level has its devil, So if you're saying, I want to go from making $1 million to 2 million, or I want to go from being a C-suite to, the top dog, whatever it is, even at the highest levels, you still have to act as if. I've been acting as if I'm the founder and CEO of a $1 billion company from the day I started it, and have accumulated and compounded accordingly. So I just think I didn't want to like just breeze right over that, because that was a really good nugget. Yeah.
thank you. Shortly after that was when I got the lawsuits, because my dad actually gave me the key. So my dad has a lot of family already established in America when we came. So we had a lot of hand-me-downs. And I always say it was really hard, but there are people that lived harder than us. Like there are immigrants that had it harder.
Right.
Because with us, we had, couches donated from family members. They've been saving because they knew we were coming. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
we're still pretty
Get a
lucky.
network. Yeah.
Yeah, we're still pretty lucky in that sense. And then my grandmother, who waited for us before she retired, she'd already called all her kids because she had 7 children, and 5 of them were already in America, in Georgia, in San Diego, like everywhere. And that she'd already warned them we were coming,
Yeah.
to save a lot of the things they were going to get rid of. And when the first car that my dad had was a 1989 Honda Accord that was gifted to him for $1 by my aunt in Georgia, and they drove it to California. So when I went to my teller training at Wells Fargo, he handed me the key, and I'm telling you this story because it's going to lead to something else. And this
Oh,
is
I love it. Yeah. This is
spirituality. He handed
so
me
cool.
the key, and I got it in a 25 mile an hour. I almost made it to my Wells Fargo training. And I got a head-on collision with Can you imagine an old Cadillac? Heavy car,
Yeah.
1989 Honda. It
Thing's a
was
boat. I know exactly what they look like.
it
Yep.
was totaled. And because I was the driver, even though I wasn't on the title, I was included and mentioned in the lawsuits. And when I came here, I had broken English, but I could communicate. But imagine my parents who were already in their 50s, close to 60s.
Right.
So I had two younger siblings that came with us. There were six of us. Three of them got left in the Philippines because they were over 20.
Okay.
I became my parents' parents. So not only that I had to grow up to become their parents, to read their letters, to take them to the bank, to any sort of establishments, to do everything, because I was the oldest one who came with them. I also got this lawsuit that was 18 grand that I had no idea what to do. So I just sat it on like some table at home. At that time, we lived with my aunt in California. And so when finally they started, their lawyers, it was AAA lawyers, they finally started calling because I wasn't answering their calls anymore. They called my job. And that was when it really got me. Like I started crying. And Marcus is he's a very prominent part of my early life here. He handed me a yellow page book, those thick
Oh
books back.
yeah. I remember sitting on them as a kid. They were like booster seats. Yeah.
He goes, here, open the darn book, call yourself a lawyer. And the first thing that came into my mind is like, I don't even have money,
Right.
like how much these people going to cost. So to this day, I still memorize the lawyer's number because of what he did for me, 440-1111 and area code 626.
That's amazing.
Yes, Ernesto Vargas in Pasadena, California. He's still practicing. He's probably like 100 years old by now. But
Yeah, right.
I opened this book, and again, here's the spirituality part of it. I opened it once, and then it went to their ad, and the biggest ad on the open page. So I called them, and he goes, yeah, it's already too late, but why don't you do me a favor and send me the paperwork, the court paper that you got served, and I'll call you back. And so I fax it over. He calls me back. He goes, there's nothing I can do, but I'm going to make some phone calls and see what what else is there to do.
Right.
So while he's talking, I'm thinking dollar sign, like, oh God, I wonder how much this is going to cost. I'm going to have to borrow money from my aunt, So he calls back the next day and he said, okay, here's what I did. I talked to the AAA attorney. I was able to negotiate it down to half, which is $9 grand. Payable, I told him you have $0 to your name.
Right.
Payable $100 a month until you pay it off. You cannot miss a beat because they're going to take you back to court and it'll cost you more money. So I'm like, do you want to take it? And I said, I'll take it, but how about you? How much is it going to cost me? He goes, Kareen, my name is Ernesto Vargas, and I used to be an immigrant here, and you owe me nothing.
Wow.
So
That's cool.
He sent me.
Sorry, I just got hit. Yeah.
I said, look, I owe you something. I just don't have the money. So I told them, I'm going to tell everybody about you forever.
Yeah. Till now, right? Yeah.
Till now.
Till now and forevermore. That's so cool. Years later.
Send me a lot of business cards. So I was on the teller line. Every single person I handed his card. Call this person. I don't care if you have a problem.
So you good. Will.
And he got so much business from it. I go, I'll pay you with referrals. I can't pay you with money. It's
amazing.
The other thing that I did, and he, again, like spiritual thing is always in my life and it always shows up. I looked up to the sky, and whoever heard it, which spirit heard it, I said, one day I'm going to become an insurance professional my father never had. Because what he did was he excluded me from his policy.
Right.
Young driver, it made his insurance.
Yep. It doubled his premium, and he just was like, "Not, yeah, we'll roll the dice."
Yeah. And remember, and he didn't know he was rolling the dice because he handed me the key. Remember, I was their parent. I took them to establishments. In this particular situation, I wasn't there. So if had I been there, I would have asked so much more questions. So he signed the exclusion form, but when this whole thing was over and I was paying $100 auto pay, I did it on my online banking. At that time, online banking was new. I was selling it left and right to everybody that came through my window. I set it up recurring, never miss a beat. 7 years later, I paid it off. And I looked up and I said, one day I'm going to become an insurance professional my father never had. And that one day I had no idea. I met my husband in Vegas at UFC 52. Of all
That's awesome.
places. It was his first time there. I used to go there as a relationship banking manager.
Yeah.
I used to do some like condo-tel deals. We would go to Vegas almost every weekend to do deals.
Yeah.
I met my husband at UFC 52. It was Chuck Liddell versus Randy Couture. Randy Couture.
Damn. I was gonna say, I think that's a pretty famous one, 52. Yeah.
Randy Couture was Iceman Liddell was from California. Couture was from Gresham, Oregon, where my husband lives. And so he and his buddy went and we met, right? So then we just kind of sparked this whole, and I had just like, I don't know, a year ago, I had a ex-boyfriend who cheated on me, and I was like taking a break from that. And then a year later, I met my husband, and he's the one that got me to this side of the world, right? But when I moved here, this is everybody and everything in your life has a purpose.
Yeah.
When I moved here, I had 401ks that I need to roll over. I had insurance that I need to quit California and do Oregon insurance. I did all things.
And here being Oregon, not the United States, obviously, because this is later in life when you've built up career and, financial security and.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I said, who can you recommend me to? My husband went to high school with one of these State Farm agents in town.
Yeah.
And he recommended me to go to her. I got a life insurance.
Amazing.
I got rollover 401k. I did all of my car insurance, all of the insurance stuff. And then during that conversation, because I didn't have a job yet. I hadn't because I moved here and then I was applying for a job. And finally I got a relationship management job at a local bank. But during our conversation, they mentioned, and again, I'm very observant and I take everything in, very intentional. They mentioned that they were building a building around the corner. I'm like, as soon as I get a job, I'm showing up here every week.
You follow your dollar to a whole nother level. You remember, we always say, go where you're spending your money and where you're doing business and prospect, but you take your career path, you follow your dollar to the next place. I love it.
So as soon as I get the job, every week, it's like the same Walmart philosophy that I did.
Right.
Every week I went to their office, brought all sorts of goodies, treats.
Yeah.
Every holiday under the sun, I showed up. Happy Memorial Day, happy whatever day, 4th of July. I showed up and gave them something, and I go, finally, I asked for a shot to bid on their construction loan. And they gave me a shot. I didn't win the shot, but what I did win was the husband, Brian, who worked there. He said, you are a very freaking consistent, very, very assertive
human. Person.
You don't ever quit, have you ever thought of becoming a insurance professional? And I remember memory triggered again. And I'm like, one day in the past, I looked up and said, one day I'm going to be the insurance professional my father never had. And he said, tell me what that story's about. So I told him the story. Long story short, I got referred over to the recruiter, got recruited, waited for my spot, and then I became an insurance agent.
It's
And
amazing.
I used my
These
story.
dots, right? Just connecting the dots. It's like the mosaic of your life is just amazing.
I just used my story to sell insurance. I
Right.
was storytelling repeatedly over and over, especially the young ones, because we did a lot of we did a lot of life insurance, and it's kind of like everything leads to something, and everything loops back in the future. Um, you may not see it today, but you will reflect on it and then see it then down the road. So it's been a wonderful journey.
It's amazing how it's just this thing called life, it's not linear, but it is connected. Like it is the yellow brick road, that we're all following, or the dots that we're connecting. But it's cyclical and it comes full circle. So you're trying to almost manage this experience where you're on a timeline, like an actual second by second. You're not getting the past. It's gone. You do not know the expiration date. There's checkpoints all along the way, and yet you end up looping back to where you were. So it's just like, am I doing circles or am I progressing?
But you're a better version of you when you go back.
Right. It's such an amazing experience. I think just be like, one thing that I'm sort of a unique character in that I grew up in a large poor family. So I have like the DNA and nature and nurture of an immigrant, like the work ethic, the attitude of gratitude, just having to navigate systems, because when you're born in poverty, you don't know how credit works. You don't know how banking works. You don't know the financial matrix that you're in. But I had and have white privilege, pretty privilege, male privilege, white, pretty male privilege. So it's like this really interesting way that I've had to navigate the world, because I look like, and I would joke with Kenya, she is an amazing part of my core, and she grew up, her story is amazing. I did an episode with her early on when we launched the podcast. She's 28, black girl, and I just say crazy shit, but she was geeking out on it, because I was like, yeah, like I get what's the word? I get not prejudged or like I'm trying to think of the proper word for it, but like people will assume, I get like profiled, that's the word. I'm like, yo, I get profiled in the opposite way. I'm like, it's messed up. Like, I'll walk into the bank and they just think I have money. You know what I mean? Or I go onto the car lot and they're like, yeah, you probably want this car, right? And I'm like, I can't afford that car. I don't have that much money. And she was just geeking out, like, that is messed up. I'm like, I know, right? I feel I'm oppressed. Like, you can't be making me feel like I can afford that shit. Like, I can't afford that shit. So it's just interesting to me to hear your story and the way that you've not just navigated it, but created it. It's really back to what we were just saying, this self-fulfilling prophecy, because of the level of intention that you have. The commitment to your intention is so potent and so laser focused, yet you're not trying to control it. You're doing the deal. Like, it's awesome. Yeah. You've threaded that needle, right? I mean, that's a beautiful space to live in. So for listeners that are trying to figure it the fuck out, like we all are, I mean, I think you're dialed in.
Yeah. Yeah, the only way to figure it out is to keep going without any expectation, but rather just believe, it's believe that it's going to take you there, but you also have to do something about it. And I
I
talk
love
about
that.
at 9 years old, and this is where I'm like, I didn't know I was manifesting to become a banker. By imagining what would I look like if I was on that other side of that desk at
Yeah.
9 years old when my grandmother took me to the bank. I didn't know I was manifesting coming to America by imagining, like, okay, I grew up around domestic violence. And so, in the olden days, it's sort of, especially in a third world country, it's sort of, I don't know. I don't think it's the word is accepted. I think it was tolerated.
Right.
Um,
It was a norm that by all standards is not acceptable, but within that culture, you're not going to ruin your entire family's reputation or you try to get somebody involved. It's like, this is part of the deal, so just suck it up.
it's really the Catholic culture. It's like through thick or thin, in sickness and
Right.
in health till death do we part. It's they take it to their grave. It takes
Literally.
literally. And so, many people don't talk about domestic violence from the angle of a child, but rather the angle of the woman, or
Right.
rarely the man that's part of it.
Performing it. Yeah.
From an angle of a child,
Hmm.
there were 6 of us, and I literally cried when my kids turned 14 and 12 because again, it triggered a memory in my mind when my oldest sister and oldest brother was our parents when things got rough around the house. And they, they would take us, like grab us by our hand, and Rosie, my younger sister, would be around the waist of my oldest sister Daisy.
Hmm.
And they'll take us out of harm's way because chairs are flying, tables are flying, things are flying. And so during that time when they did that, I would just think about coming to America. That
Hmm.
was my escape, was how great would it be if I'm in America? And Disneyland was always like the shiny
Right.
object for a child. I get to go to Disneyland. Like we don't necessarily think of the hard part of living in America.
Right. The American dream, not the American nightmare. Right. Yeah.
We just look at the high rises that we didn't have, like things that we didn't have at home. That was my escape. And
Wow.
at the same time, it was a manifestation that I didn't know I was having. And then it happened when I was 20, when we got that letter and when the rules changed for me. And so all of those things, like I used to cry telling this story, but I've healed from this now. I just came back from the Philippines celebrating my dad's 80th birthday. Um, Forgiven him, forgiven myself, like everything's good.
Now, is
But
your father back in the Philippines?
he retired. I sent him home.
Wow.
My dad,
That's
I'm the only person my dad listens to because I'm the only one that stands up to him. So,
right.
in fact, when there's an issue, my
What number are you in the sixth? In the
four,
sixth? I'm
fourth,
the fourth of 9. So there must
yeah,
be something there. My daughter's name is Rosie, by the way. One of my
really,
daughters. Yep.
yeah. My younger sister who's in LA is Rosie.
Rosie. That's awesome.
I'm the only one that stands up to him, and he loves gambling. He goes to the casino when he was here, and sometimes he'll drink, and he drives home and he gets into an accident. And so last accident he had, I had to put my feet down and tell him to retire home because I don't want to get a phone call and see that you are cut in pieces on the freeway somewhere, and like you need to go home. So I sent him home.
Yeah, it was involuntary. Yeah.
To me. So every
Right.
time there's an issue, my siblings always say, "Hey, can you talk to dad?
Right.
You need to talk to dad because of this and that." But anyways,
Wow.
um,
You set him
as
straight.
as a child, I didn't know I was manifesting all of that. And then 2008 market crash happened. That was my second big adversity. I owned a lot of real estate. I lost, my husband owned a lot of real estate. He lost all of his. I lost all of mine, but the one we lived in. It was a really tough time. I had just opened my State Farm agency October 1 of 2008, the month of the crash with the bailout news, news break headlines, bailing
That'd
out
have been the Lehman Brothers, right? Lehman Brothers.
Lehman Brothers,
Yeah.
AIG,
Yeah.
government bailout, all of that stuff. That was the month I opened my business. And like my dad always says, you never do everything easy. You always do everything hard. And then go, well, hard makes you better. So
Yes. I
hard,
love that.
I choose my hard. You choose your hard. I
Yes.
choose.
I put a post out recently. I was working out and I do CrossFit, tell everyone. But
Hey, I see it.
It's tough, right? Yeah. And I was a college wrestler, so it was the closest thing I could find as a washed up Division I athlete, to keep going. And so I'm about 4 years into it, but I put a post out that I think you'll greatly appreciate. And it just came to my mind, it wasn't earth shattering, but I said, if you make life hard, life won't be so hard. And it's like kind of the classic, either you discipline yourself or life will discipline you. Mm-hmm. And I think people like you, I fancy myself this way too. We choose hard, we pick our poison because we know it's inevitable that hard is coming. It's biblical too, right? It says that the giants will come, the adversity will come, this world is fallen, right? I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but like, take heart, I've overcome the world, and yeah. I think when you are a believer, you operate, I know I do, on this pretty simple premise, which is that it is finished, right? Like when he died on the cross, I can barely even speak to it without getting emotional. It's like, it's done, son. You know what I mean? Like it's finished. So our core values, I don't know if you know this, we're pretty bold in them, but we have 3 core values at my core. Walk by faith is our cornerstone. Lead with who and measure what matters. But the walking by faith is so powerful, and I think just akin to our conversation here, because the verse doesn't say run by faith. It doesn't say crawl by faith, right? It's like you got to walk this thing out, right? You got to go from checkpoint to checkpoint, from dot to dot, and finding that cadence, that rhythm, that consistency, putting the application in at the top of the pile, going back and asking, for the deal on repeat, consistently telling the story. I mean, the way that you've even just portrayed and showcased and illustrated your journey is freaking masterful. Like, I'm sitting here going, I hope people are taking fucking notes on the way that she's telling the story, because she's giving a clinic right now on communication and storytelling. And like, I'm pumped for you to grace the stage in Eugene in another month. I want to talk more about that, but so many people have not done the work to figure out how to tell their own story. And it's like, you're not leading with who you are, and my limbic system is not energized by it. You're hitting me with logic, and I don't give a shit about the logical reason why I should buy your product, listen to your content, follow you, subscribe, whatever the call to action is. If it's not preceded by an emotional connection and not contrived, like some real shit that you went through, there's a reason why the moment, again, I can barely handle it, you shared, and I'm sure you've told this story, and some people may or may not respond to it the way I do, but the struggle is real. Like, if you've been through the struggle's real. If you haven't been through the struggle, then you don't know, and that's okay. Like, good on you. Whoever set you up for success, somebody at some point struggled. It might have been 10 generations ago.
True.
But somebody fucking struggled for you to have that privilege, right? And I mean, shit, this is fresh on my mind because I'm a single father now with 4 children, and it's fresh. It's actually the first time I've publicly shared this on a recording, but I am in my place and I'm taking my children to school this morning. It was an absolute shit show. And like we talked earlier, I had a great night before. We freaking have dinner. We're doing freaking TikTok dance rehearsals. The sun's shining. We're in sunny Florida. We get freaking ice cream. Everyone goes to bed beautifully. I'm like, I got this. Like, it's going to be okay. I wake up to a freaking full blown spiritual attack. I mean, it was insane the morning that I had. And I just sort of popped off a little bit, and I reacted. I didn't respond. I reacted, and I just read my kids their rights, and I said, look, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say or do can be brought against you in the court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you can't afford an attorney, which your ass can't, because I pay for everything for you. I hold the purse strings. I mean, I full blown went like ape shit on him. And it was not like abusive or anything. It was just intense because I went there and was like, do you have any idea, what I've had to do? And I didn't mean to make it about myself, but I really did feel like, you know what? I'm going to set them fucking straight right now on a few things. And it's a weird thing to like bow up to your kids, you know what I mean? Because it's like, we going to fight them, but like sometimes, particularly my 12-year-old, which was the main conflict, is it's like, I want to knock that shit out of your mind now. Because if you think it is normal the way that you live, it is not normal that you live in this Truman Show in North Florida where there's an amenity center that literally looks like Walt Disney made it, but that's just your community. That's where you go to the pool because you feel like going to the pool. And it's April, if you want to go, like that kind of stuff. I mean, you're from a beautiful part of the country there in California. So I'm saying all that to say that this is therapy session too, but like, if you don't know because you don't know, well then, okay, good on you. But if you do know because you do know, and you do know that you do know, you're helping nobody by not sharing that, right? I mean, you are not impacting people. You are not inspiring. You are not affecting if you're not leading with who you are and being real and raw. And that's like we talked about with being a cursing Christian, is it's like, yeah, I have a strong faith, but my faith is like something that I grapple with. It's not something that I just check a box with. I don't grapple with it like, is God real? It's quite the opposite. It's just how much am I going to let him control my life and how much am I going to try to control it myself? And that is a daily battle. It constantly. And when you are self-reliant and you have had to survive and you've gone from survival to thrival, you're thriving, but you still have this bear chasing you. And I don't know if you can relate to this. I'm going to put this into the form of a question, but I am a what's next type person too, like constantly. Yeah, like bad, right? But it has manifested and actualized so many beautiful things in my life. I just can't quite tell, am I creating something great as the visionary and co-creator with God that I am? Or am I running from this grizzly bear at all times that's rooted in my childhood? And I'm pretty convinced it's both of these things at the exact same time. And that tension sucks too. So how about you? Can you relate to any of that as I rant and rave?
Well, first of all, with your kids, they need to know who's boss, right? Also and parenting is really interesting. It's hard. It's fun. It's rewarding. It's everything. But
yeah, it's all the things.
I grapple with, I come from third world country. I basically didn't have any parent because they were both trying to parent themselves. My mom was chasing him. He was stealing my mom's money from her. She had like a dressed chicken store in the open market, in one of those third world country open market. He would steal my mom's money from her till, and she would borrow from Peter to pay Paul. Like she would run around town and be borrowing money to, just so she could buy more chicken. Wow. We helped her. I know how to kill a chicken because at a young age, I had to help. My mom didn't have help, so the kids had to help her, you know, dunk the chicken in a boiling water and get the feathers out and all of that stuff. But um, I grapple with the idea, especially with my kids living in the first world country, and so I could relate to what you
Yeah.
just said of how I'm going to create hunger and humbleness and all the things that I became who I am because of the life that I lived.
Yeah.
If I gave them everything, then it'll reverse the effect, cause and effect, right? And so, how do I mimic without putting them in a domestic violence situation? I don't have, you know, I don't have that problem with my husband. So, how
Right.
do I create good citizen in my children? And
Yeah.
it's a very hard thing to grapple with because
Yeah.
I am who I became because of the life I lived, the hard life that I didn't know it was hard. I feel like it was fun, you know, like
I connect to everything you're saying so deeply. I can't even sit still. Like if you look at my body language, I'm like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, yes. Everything you're saying is just
So I
like,
just want to validate what you're doing because you know, it's hard enough to have two parents. It's harder what you're doing being a single dad. Um, that you're on the right track, and I've had
thank
those
you.
moments too, especially first days of school. You know, I tell them to prepare and they're not ready when it's time to go. Like,
Right.
totally get it. But one of the things that I always say, because as I was being a bank VP and I get a lot of my, you know, self-made clients and I sell them money for their projects, whatever,
Right.
there was always, and especially when I was a young banker, there was always this question was because they see in me what they see in themselves, hungry, driven,
Right. Right.
burning desire, but then they have kids that are my age that don't have it. And so a lot of times I
Interesting.
get asked by them, like, Kareen, how do you have this much burning desire,
Yeah.
drive? You know, like
Moxie. Yeah.
I could feel it because I am one. Like they could relate to that.
Takes one to know one. Yeah.
Yeah, because my kids, like I have really a hard time with my kids are spoiled. And I'm like, have you
Yep.
ever sent them to a third world country?
Right. Let them get
I
a taste.
maybe you should send them to a third world. If you're part of a church, have them take a mission to like Africa, Philippines, whatever. And so what I've done was we're always hard on our kids, like
Mm.
hard in a loving way. And
Yeah.
they
Tough
have,
love.
yeah, tough love. And I've taken them to the Philippines, you know, maybe 5 times in their life and shown them the rough part of the area, and they really appreciate their life here. So it's and that's the best I can do to maybe mimic or give them a little slice
Yeah.
of
A little taste.
in order for them to appreciate their life and the things that I've done and dad and I have done to give them everything they have to provide them with so much
Man.
in life. And
This is so fascinating, Kareen, without going into the full diatribe, but I'm the fourth of nine. My parents got married at 18 and 19 years old.
mm,
And what's really fascinating about the born legacy, the born identity, if you will, is that
love,
my, right, great movie. My parents did not grow up in poverty, they grew up privileged.
wow,
So it's a very interesting dynamic because they created they wreaked havoc and created poverty for the first time. And I really didn't even have this realization. Like it didn't fully clock for me until like a few months ago when I was home going through the initial separation. And I'm spending more time with my family, and I have a brother, many of them, but one of my five brothers, 6 boys, 3 girls, Caleb. We're there, and this is like our magnificent obsession. We're constantly trying to figure out how the hell this happened, you know, and what do we do with it now? So I'm talking about like the 11 of us, the 9 children of my 2 parents being in the situations that we were before I graduated high school, moved 24 times, often evicted, cars not working, Peter, Paul. It's I say this jokingly a lot, and people are like, so like you guys had to rob Peter and pay Paul, and I'm like, what, you think Paul's getting paid? Nah, dog. We robbing Peter and Paul. Like everybody getting robbed. Like we ain't paying Paul. Like fuck Paul. So like this, like just, and you know, since we've already kind of broached the topic on cursing, this is the nomenclature within my family. We call it fuckery. It's all just fuckery, right? It's just like, really, you know, like you're gonna do that your car just got to repossess, like just all that shit, right? And I'm talking about this as though the 11 of us are commiserating. And my brother Caleb, he's 25. He'll be 26 in like a week, actually. He's the 8th of the 9. And he goes, bro, what are you talking about? He's like, mom and dad, they didn't grow up poor. They don't understand what they created and the harm. And I went, holy shit, you're right. They were just two little lovebirds that wanted to be hippies and, you know, not work for the man and not put anything in place financially. I mean, I remember when my dad got a bank account for the first time, I don't know, within the last couple of years, for a few years. It's like, wait, dad's got a bank account? No shit. You're joking. Like he doesn't just have like some cash. You're telling me dad has a cell phone? No freaking way. I mean, this is just how they lived. They lived off the grid. They kept us homeschooled for years, and you know, so much there. But I'm saying all that to say that this generational thing is very interesting too, right? Because you come from a poor immigrant family, right? Put frankly, then you've created success. That success has bred privilege, right? Some form. They might not be the Rockefellers or the Vanderbilts, but like, even if you're middle class fancy, you're still living the damn dream. And to put it into like a picture, we got cereal once a year on our birthday. It was called our birthday cereal. For me, it was Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Other than that, it was oatmeal and or grits, right? That's just how we ate. So I'm going into the home that we had moved into. There's a walk-in pantry, and there's 15 cereal boxes, you know, everything, because that's my life now and my kids' lives. And I got just like hit by it. I went, huh. I took out my phone. I take a picture of it. I send it to the group chat with my siblings, and I go, hey, in case y'all were wondering if I'm killing the game, like, it's not the house, it's not the car, it's not the business. It's the boxes of cereal because you know, and everyone just geeked out like, oh shit, man, you know, like you made it. And obviously it's all relative, but I think that's so fascinating. It's like, how do you instill, because the laziness, so to speak, I mean, to call it frank, just call it straight, that turned into poverty for us, and they had 9 children. And then we've had to fix it. Some of us have, some of us haven't. And I watch some of my siblings that just don't know what they don't know, you know, and you're watching them make decisions that I made too, mistakenly. And then sometimes I make decisions and I'm like, oh shit, I did it again. Like, I did it again. Like, how am I still doing this? You know, like whatever it is. It could be a business decision, you know, something having to do with finances or taking on too much risk. So it's really fascinating to try to like manage this generational live what you learn, nature versus nurture. So yeah, I can relate to that. I'm kind of in the unique situation of not being grown or not being raised by parents that know the cost of poverty. And it sounds like you, in your practice, have taken all these events, all these career paths, and they've come together now to where it's not just a box that people can get approved or not approved or can deploy capital or not. You're really in the sort of teaching. You're like a professor of finance in a sense. Is that fair?
Yes, basically. Going back to really quick what you have shared in regard, I was taking notes because I didn't want to forget it. in
Yeah, I've
regards
got
to
my little notepad here on things you've been saying.
your parents. There's a Chinese proverb that I can't say how they say it in Chinese, but basically in American language, in English, it's called rags to rags in 3 generation. And what it says is that wealth cannot last past 3 generations. And
Wow.
generational wealth is such a um trending phrase right
Right.
now
Right.
in
Right.
social media. But so the first generation, and I don't know if, well, I would say my elder generations probably were rich in land, because I remember when I was growing up, we would get a sack or sacks of rice from a family farm. My grandfather had a family farm in somewhere in Mindanao, Philippines, and we would get a delivery of sacks, their share of the rice once it was
Wow.
harvested. So they were rich in land, their generation. But what this Chinese proverb says, that the first generation makes the wealth,
Mm.
then they pass it on to the second generation who spends it, and then the third generation sees none of it. And I figured in your story, it's probably your parents that sees none of it. The good news, and probably my generation as well, the good news is, because those land, I don't know where those lands are, like wherever they went, right? The good news is the third sees none, meaning you and I are going to make the wealth. And so
Yeah.
it is now our duty,
We back. We back. Right. We're
like
so back.
like
Yeah.
you said, it cycles, right? Life
Yeah.
cycles.
Right.
So now, knowing the Chinese proverb, rags to rags in 3 generations, and we are going to be that first of the 3 generations. It is our duty now. How do we break that cycle? Our generation. And so one of the
Mm.
things that I've been teaching my kids is, um, going back to my wealthy clients that have self-made and then they complain about their children being spoiled, is I when I became a parent, I made a promise that when, how moms read their kids like children's book. Well, I read
Yeah.
my kids Think and Grow Rich books,
That's awesome.
business development
Yeah.
books, personal.
Totally.
I read them while I had them in my belly.
You're like,
And
once upon a time, you
yeah.
must have a burning desire. It's like,
So,
right.
um, and then I taught him about money and home chore,
Mm.
and they did their laundry by 6. Like I did all of that because don't just want to hand them the wealth that I'm building. I need to hand them the
The
manual,
skills, right? The
manual of how I built it. And
Yeah,
so
good.
that's sort of one of my greatest mission, is to, yes, it's great that I could pass on wealth. And I hate when parents say, like, I want to give everything to my kids because I never had it. Well, that's like the impact on that when they become adults is going to be the reverse impact of how you became who you are. And so I just wanted to share that proverb,
Yeah, that's
rag to rag,
powerful.
3 generations, because I think that's what's happening. The only real wealthy people that, and you see Anderson Cooper is working now, right? Now, I don't know if he has to work. Maybe he just works because that's the Vanderbilts. They didn't,
Right,
it's the same thing. They went from rags to rags in 3 generations.
right.
The only generation that did it the right way is the Rockefellers. So there is a book that you can buy, How the Rockefellers Did It.
Oh,
Kind
that's cool.
of, I haven't read it, but that's on
Yeah,
my, but
yeah. I need to
you
add that.
if we want to take this seriously to break that cycle of rags to rags in 3 generations,
Yeah.
I think that the playbook would be the Rockefellers playbook. Uh,
I'm writing.
anyway, that's yeah.
That's
So
some gangster shit, man. How the Rockefellers did it. I mean, talk about like inspiration, right? Like if
no,
you have even just replace the name, as a title, like if you thought to yourself, is there a scenario where somebody writes a book that says how the Mills did it? Like how the Bournes did it. Like that's some gangster shit. Like I love that.
Dude, you could literally rip the front page, put it on your dream board. I believe in
Seriously.
a dream board every year, and I've achieved many of them, and then I just plaster
Yeah.
it with something new, like, um,
Look at me now. I'm getting paper. Yeah, that's good stuff.
so you can do that. But what I do now, so going back to what I do now, it's, when I was a bank VP, I declined 80% of maybe even more people.
Hmm.
And they were left with, small business. That's the same audience you and I have.
Yep.
Small business.
Main Street.
Small business is big business, and they're the lifeblood of our economy. And it always hurt me to see, and culture, it's my cultural making too. I lead with a heart, and it hurts me to see when I had to decline and dump them because they really did not have anybody else to counsel them. They have their CPA, that's more of a reactive counseling where they don't, there's very few CPAs that do tax planning, but there's not very many that do proactive planning.
Yeah.
So they're more of a historical type CPA where, you collect all your data, let's file your taxes, or let's do bookkeeping. Bookkeepers are not, really qualified enough to be counseling them with their financials. They just keep the books clean.
Right. Literally.
And then you have the bankers like me, we just decline and dump them. And then
Right.
they have a CFO. Now there's fractional CFOs. Unfortunately, they're expensive. They're like attorneys.
Right.
They're not cheap. So they're left with nobody. And so what I did as a banker, to achieve my goals was I achieved it mainly on the deposit side. I did lending was great, but the deposit side was basically faster because when I decline you, Nathan, I meet with you on Zoom. I don't just like send you an email and say,
right.
you're it. I meet with you on Zoom and I'll tell you, hey, today we can't approve you, but here are some action steps that you can do to get you approved. I can hold your hand, but in one condition. I can hold your hand and continue to visit with you every quarter and look at your financials and tell you what the fuck is wrong with your financials.
What the fuck is up? Yeah. That's awesome. That's great.
But I can't do that for free. You're going to have to work with me because eventually my runway runs out. I don't have production. I'm going to get fired. I'm going to be out of job. My boss is going to start asking, where am I spending all my time? So you have to bring your operating accounts so that we have a connection from a business perspective. So I got a lot of business that way. Most bankers, when they decline people, they never get anything. They just, get rid of them to the next deal. So when I did this, I also started it's a brand new school. And that's why when Sue says, oh my gosh, that's so aligned with us. I have a Profit and Loss University.
Where it is on the school platform.
Yeah, I have a school platform.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know if you were saying that generally or like SKOOL, like the same one that we do our communities in.
Oh no, I'm not on the school.
Okay.
I actually just signed up and I'm still playing with it.
Cool. But you have an academy, you have a school, you have a space.
Yes, it's we use SamCard right now. So it's on SamCard, but I'm kind of playing with school now that he's doing a 90-day trial and $9 a month after for the basic stuff. So I'm playing with it. But Profit and Loss University is basically for those that are not bankable. That's why I am bold with my title with Bankable AF.
I love it.
Really need people to understand that they have to get to
Pay attention, dude. Yeah, like listen to what I'm telling you. Do you understand the words coming out of my mouth?
Yeah. Let me tell you with my mouth.
Exactly. We've weaved in so many cultural, references. It's good.
Yeah. Also, future proofing it. I was telling Sue on our initial meeting, like I'm also future proofing it because AF is a millennial terminology. They created a lot of these terminology and a lot. Do you follow Cody Sanchez?
Yep. I actually met Cody Sanchez in New York at an event, and it was like a casual thing, and I was like, Oh shit, that's Cody Sanchez. And
Yeah.
everyone was playing it cool because it was actually Gary V's like club. It's called Fish something, I don't know, Fish Club or Fly Fish. I can't remember. But and I was like, well, I'm not cool, so I'm gonna just beeline over there and fangirl her real quick. So like I didn't play it cool at all. Everyone was kind of like, dude, like you're allowed to be here. I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna go talk to her. I was like, hi Cody, I love you. I think you're great. I follow your stuff. Everyone was like, keep it cool. I'm like, no, actually, I don't care. So it was really kind of funny. This happened like in like June. Yeah, like just a couple months ago.
Well, she has a huge community and she's encouraging people to buy Main Street, cash
Yes.
businesses. And a lot of millennials are tired of working. And so a lot of millennials are listening to her and transitioning into the world of business ownership. And how, like, in my mind, how can I speak to those guys without speaking to those guys?
Yeah.
Now they're new business. They need, like I'm basically, it's called cross pollinating.
Right.
I'm trying to cross pollinate with her community by having the right terminology. So future proofing, and I was telling Sue, I'm future proofing my brand, and
Right.
it's important. And as I was counseling those people, one of the things, what tells the story about your business is the easiest financial data you can grab on your profit and loss. So every other week
Right.
in my profit and loss university, they bring their the real profit and loss, and I put on just a generic one on the screen, and then they can look at, no one's profit and loss is going to be blasted on the screen.
Right. Right.
They can study it and they can look at it. A lot of startups or non-bankable clients, I try to put them into Profit and Loss University. And we do business funding, and that's my 9 to 5 business.
Cool.
I do really well. I do my best work in revenue-based lending because, again, banks look at the bottom line. And if you don't cash flow 1 to 25, that's if you go SBA, it's 115 for every dollar you make, or for every dollar you borrow, you need to bring in 1.15.
Right.
$1.15 for us to lend you money. And sometimes it goes to, and that's the DSCR ratio. But then sometimes it goes into the net worth ratio, debt to net worth.
Right.
So there's different ratios, and business owners don't understand those.
Right. Where do they teach you that? Right.
They don't know what EBITDA means. They don't know what all of that means. So
ironically, it's a university that you have branded this as, and the last place you're going to learn that is in a university. So it's a great like sort of tease on what really education, self-education, thinking and growing rich. Yeah, that's exciting. You and I are going to talk more about this because there's some things that I'm working on under the brand of My Core Capital to the master plan, I'll just share it now, has been to buy these Main Street businesses, partner with these leaders in these communities. And, we've built these 2 very robust solutions, Profit Share and Market Share, which is our people ops solution and our marketing ops solution. And we've done it for Main Street businesses. So we're starting to put together a portfolio. We have 1 company in place. We're about to ink the deal on a second one. And the goal is to kind of follow that Main Street millionaire Cody Sanchez model. My little take on it is rather than buy them outright, one of the core values of mine and the company are to lead with who. So I'm always basing it on who is going to lead this company, who is going to run the show. Because it might be a great HVAC company that's doing 5 million, or a car wash, or a bakery, but somebody has to get up every day and give a shit about this, and yes, systems and processes and all the things that it's lacking, but it's always going to come down to people power, to who power. So I almost would rather, we're not going to exclude it entirely, the opportunity to buy, but I want to be a matchmaker as well, because to your point, I have my millennial peers that are ready to step into this, but they haven't done it because they need somebody that will really guide them. So what we're really kind of doing is building my core into this executive infrastructure. And essentially, I'm working on taking my C-suite and having it be fractional to these portfolio companies, and then having this ecosystem of professionals like yourself that do these things that we absolutely do not do, won't try to do it, and then build really like a marketplace and an ecosystem of these movers and shakers. So this event that we're doing in Eugene in a month is kind of a debut and like hanging the shingle officially, planting the flag and taking what we've been developing for years now kind of off the grid and saying like, okay, we're here, let's do the damn thing. So I'm pumped for that event. And I'm assuming you're going to tell this story again. I mean, I'm sure you've already, I'm confident of it as you lead with who you are. It's going to be really exciting to take like almost today's episode and do it in the form of a keynote.
Yeah, absolutely. I had coffee with a business broker yesterday, and one of the things that because she's fairly new to it, and she has some challenges in terms of funding. One of the solution that I told her is that my revenue-based lending partners will not fund unless you have 3 months of bank statements. Ideally, I like for it to be stronger, 6 to 12 months of bank statements. So what you can do, because there's a lot of people out there that she gets a call from that wants to buy a business, but they don't have the money. Maybe they'll have 20, 30 grand down payment. And so I told her, you can encourage the seller because she represents the sellers. You need to talk to your seller that a lender, me, that will touch them when they're 3 months old to 12 months old. And so if you can convince them to carry it back for a short term, 12 to 24 months, the real ideal way is to give them 2 years of tax returns, because I can nurture them to become the straightaway traditional bank loan versus my revenue base, which is a little bit, it's a commercial loan, but it's still in the middle between merchant card advance loan, which is super duper expensive, between the banks. And then it's still pretty good, but I'd rather, because I come from the banking world, I would rather them go straight there if they can come to profit and loss school, and I nurture them to become that bankable AF. And
I love that. I love it.
So she's going to incorporate that strategy into her buyers. So with all these buy and sell businesses, there's so much opportunity. I get a lot of opportunities where they don't even qualify for the second level loans. They definitely don't qualify for banks. One of the things that I'm going to be doing is equity play, because they can't even afford my services. They can't qualify. They're minus 300. It's an $8 million business that's old school, baby boomer. They don't know what to do. They are going to shut down. Don't shut it down. Let me get it back on track. Don't pay me, but when we exit this baby, you're going to owe me 5 to 10% equity.
We're going to have an offline conversation about all this, because this is exciting. I'd love to partner around this. I also am in the process of working with an individual to bring so I'll put it this way. I'm just trying to, I don't be cryptic, but one of our portfolio companies is a CAS accounting firm. So all that nitty gritty, from like the books to the fractional CFO to the filing of the taxes, that's a solution that will be kind of hardwired into our world. So if you have any gaps there, and I think the larger narrative here for our listeners is like, build your collective, right? The reason we're calling this the My Core Collective is because the amount of cross-pollinating, the amount of like partnering, networking, ecosystem building that's going to happen even in this first event that we put on with 100-ish people there is going to be like earth-shattering. It really is, because of the quality of people. I mean, the speakers alone that we've curated are just amazing, and I'm doing episodes like this with each one, and I'm humbled every time I come off the episode, because I'm like, shit. You know what I mean? Like, Kareen Mills on some other shit, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't know, right? Like, I mean, I've always respected you professionally, but I didn't know the full story, right? So it's really fun to put this collective together, to put this mastermind, right? Think and Grow Rich style together, but not do it in like a, we're all trying to do the same thing under, like with our background with Legal Shield and our experience with that company, it was so insulated, right? It was like a utopia, you know, in a more critical way, like kind of cult like, you know, and it's like, it was awesome that the ingredients were there, the good stuff was there, but it wasn't, from my point of view, affecting anything in the real world. It was like, come into our world, you know, versus like, actually, we're going to come into your community. And we joined the Eugene Chamber of Commerce. I have the team, that wasn't my idea, but the team is calling through the directory and in making personal invites and personal connections with that local community on that main street. So it's like, we're not just coming to a town because of a venue. We're coming to the town because we're building ecosystems. We're building bridges, you know, we're building relationships. So I'm stoked for all that I think we're going to do together indirectly. I think there's some stuff we could do directly.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, this is cool.
For those people, and maybe you can, for this particular clip,
yeah,
you can do geotag in Eugene or any area when you post it. But for those people that are on the fence, let me tell you a story really quick. And I know we're climbing up.
Yeah, no, please.
A long time. Ellen Yin and Ellen
I saw a picture of you guys together recently. I was like, oh, cool. Look at that. Yeah. So
she actually featured me. I think that might have been the picture that you saw. She featured me on her Instagram and her Facebook. And I think the Instagram copies over to Facebook.
Yeah.
Because events like the My Core Collective is where Ellen and I met. And that's why I'm speaking to those that are on the fence coming to your event, especially the Chamber of Commerce members. I used to be an ambassador of the Chamber in Vancouver, where I'm at, Vancouver, Washington. And I'm a huge believer of the Chamber's purpose in your community and the civic duties that they have. So if you're on the fence, one of the things, the story in my life that loop back around in the future, and Ellen goes, we finally get to speak together in the same event at My Core Collective. And Ellen and I are angel investor sisters for a company called Soursop Nutrition. Or no, actually they changed the name. Soursop is a DBA, but the legal name is Beyond Medicine LLC, and it's a Florida-based entity. Wow. But Amy Lacey, who is the founder of Soursop, she was the founder of Cauliflower Foods that exited in its high, I don't know, mid 9 figures, maybe almost, or not 9 figures, 8 figures, and maybe almost 9. I don't remember the exact data.
Amazing.
But she exited it in 2019 before COVID. But how we met, Amy and I spoke at this event where Ellen and I met. And Ellen, and see, the true meaning of success is when you see somebody you didn't even know you inspired, that just takes off. They don't feel intimidated by you. They see your shine, and then they take it and make it shinier in their life. And so we were, apparently, I didn't even know this story. She told a story on this post like a week or two ago. She said that she was standing in line at the Spark event, and this woman was blabbing about her podcast. It was my podcast. I was talking to somebody. We're standing in line. And then eventually, and the thing about Ellen is you can just tell how genuine she is.
Yeah, she's great.
You can tell whenever you give her some sort of nuggets, or she'll listen and she'll take off with it.
Yeah.
I didn't know this until she shared the story. And she said, I was standing in line at this event at Spark. She worked for Amy Lacey at that time, and Amy was my fellow speaker. We spoke together on stage. And she said that eventually, as I was talking, I saw her probably in my peripheral vision, and I included her in the conversation. And, like, she's a very easy person to include in anything.
Yeah, she lights up a room. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's in events like these, people, where you find these people that you eventually later on collaborate with and hopefully build wealth with and do business with and speak with in containers like my core collective. So,
so good. That's so humbling.
Please come. We would love to.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. I mean, we are real time. Like I'm going to conclude our episode here in a moment. I'm going to eat for the first time today. We've been just jamming, and Laura, who helps a great deal, well, run shit is the best way to put it, but specific to the podcast, she manages the guests and my calendar around it and all that. So she's been booking me at times that I'm like, I normally eat at that time. And she's like, well, we got to get it done, pack some almonds or something. And I never do. So here we are. But I am going to get on a call with the team, because what we're really putting our effort towards, besides just, packing the room. Have you been to the Graduate Hotel, by the way, in Eugene?
No, I've never been. I'm a Marriott girl. So I think they just got bought up.
Yeah, they got bought up at Hilton. Yeah. Most recently, but it is a cool freaking brand. Yeah. And the room that we're in, it's at the top of it. It's like 9th floor or something. And it just has a beautiful landscape of the like pine trees and just like Oregon. But then what I would call like a big, small town, which is very much like a main street, larger, because Eugene's a pretty major city, but yeah, like college town. So nonetheless, we are going to be focused on the Pacific Northwest, and I'm flying out there on Saturday for Ellen's event. Are you going to Bloom together?
Wow, I'm going to be there.
Cool. Well, we'll be hanging out then. Yep, I'll be there. I'm going to be there with Laura. Laura's coming. Curtis and Susan Marie. It's going to be awesome. So then we'll be able to hang out and talk life, shop, all the things.
It's an all women's event.
They opened it up. Yeah, they opened it up.
I'm kidding.
I know. I know, because I assumed that at first, and I think it was, and then she shifted it or something. So if not, Curtis and I will be in drag, I guess. But yeah.
You're inside.
Yes, exactly. So we're going to be doing the next and I'm always hesitant to promote the next event because you want to wait till this one. So don't miss Eugene, but we're looking at the spring of 2026 in the Pacific Northwest. We've got our eyes maybe on Seattle, maybe San Francisco, but then we're going to be doing pop-ups leading into it. So, connecting with the local community, finding cool venues. My ultimate goal, vision for this is I love the like historic theaters that a lot of like stand-up comics or these more like off-Broadway type shows that hold, 2,000 people, 1,500 people, 800 people. I would love to be doing these events in almost like a tour. But the idea is that we're saying, okay, companies out there, you've got budget for speakers, and you're often putting all your eggs in this one person's basket, and you're paying them $100,000 to come talk for. I mean, we remember it from Legal Shield, right? They'd have Grant Cardone, or they'd have the guy from Shark Tank. So Laura had this idea, and I've been kind of ideating and running with it. What if the My Core Collective was just that? What if it was an ensemble of speakers, thought leaders, trainers that all had their own respective businesses and brands and followings and communities, and they came together like the freaking circus, this island of misfit toys, and with a common thread and through line, you had this eclectic way that their stories were shared and the subject matter expertise were shared. So what we're going to be doing coming out of Eugene is we'll have the next one booked, and we'll be pre-selling into that event. And then we'll be building that mastermind of speakers that really are like top tier, and build this roster out that says, hey, you could hire us and we'll bring 7 speakers for the price of that one speaker that you were hoping had the pack the punch. You're going to get a freaking circus. So I'm watching The Greatest Showman, one of my favorite movies, on the plane back when I was there capturing content. And I'm just getting pumped about this idea because right at the end of the movie, if you've seen it, the building burns down, right? And he gets back in the trenches with the freaks, the misfits, the crazy ones, and they are all defeated. And he goes, we don't need a building. Why are we making people come to us? I just need a tent. Yep. So I'm like, dude, we can have freaking my core display. You know what I mean? We can go into these markets. And for some people, it might be the person doing the trapeze that just does it for you. It might be the bearded woman singing, you know, or the giant, like all these kind of freaks that we are. And hearing your story today, Kareen, you're a freak. You know, you're a misfit. You don't fit in. Huh?
You have to be. You have to be. Yeah.
Because we're the ones that are crazy enough to think we can change the world, right? And we're the ones that do.
And we believe it. We buy it.
Yep.
Yeah, I have I don't know if you know, I have an event too called Friendsgiving Live, because
yes, I wanted to ask you about that. Tell us about that.
My vision is to mother the world. That's my vision. And whatever that comes, I leave it up to the Holy Spirit. But that resonates with me because I'm mom, and it's a good play on to change the world, right?
Yeah.
So wealth is great, but if you hoard your wealth, it's not so great. And so my Friendsgiving empowers women to give powerfully. There's and our mission is to give 100 million as a movement by 2040. 100 million. That's a lot of money. But because it's in its final stage for trademark, I'm selling franchises to amplify female leaders' brand. So it's an amplifier. It's not a replacement of their brand. Yeah. And it funds. It not only funds their noble cause, and I believe in noble causes in every business. It doesn't only fund their noble cause, but it funds their marketing budget, which is it funds a pretty big marketing budget. So if they're an insurance professional, it can fund their marketing budget. That's so they awesome. Won't have to worry about it. And it's once a year. Last year, Ellen was there. Amy was there. Amy's going to speak at Ellen's event too.
Oh, wow.
Last year, we had 110 women, and this year we have 200. The way that I started it, and again, it goes back to my lived experience, you know, with domestic violence. I was 6 years old when I first had an awareness that I was in that kind of situation. And I'll go really fast because we're almost hitting 2 hours. But I know you're hungry. I'm hungry too.
yeah. I'm loving this. Is feeding my soul. I'll get food later.
But I, you know, as 6-year-old child, I wanted to hold space for my mom, but I couldn't. I wasn't powerful enough. And so 2017, when the women in my community, about 24 of them, I just wanted to serve them. You know, I just wanted to be there for them. I was also still recovering from my 2008 market crash adversity. Financial ruins can get ruined overnight, but the recovery takes a while. So I was still recovering towards the tail end of my recovery. So I'm like, you know what? The best medicine for being depressed is to serve other people. And so I did this Friendsgiving thing at a restaurant, like a private room right here in our waterfront.
Okay.
One of my fellow chamber, and this is where the chamber comes get woven again.
Yeah.
my fellow chamber ambassador, Sunny, was a catering and events director for an event center. And she was like, well, there's a room. It costs you 500, but if you spend 500, it's free. And I'm like, are you kidding? 24 women over brunch. We're
Right. It's done. Yeah.
with mimosas.
Mimosas, it's
We're
over.
just gonna get
A
it
couple
done.
Bloody Marys, we're good.
We did that, and when the new year rolled around, 2018, because it was 2017, I started getting messages and text message and Facebook and all of that. Hey, are we doing that thing again? And my quickest, see, you got to be quick on your feet, and I think
Right.
you are too. And I think you already maybe thought of this, but what I did was, okay, well, shit, I wasn't planning on doing it. I was only planning on doing it once.
Right.
But if I do it again, will you bring one more woman so we could serve just one more woman? And then there were 50.
Wow.
And so right there, I'm like, okay, that was the ticket. And I hadn't even before I let him go in 2018, I said, okay, bring one more person next year. You know what to do. We'll have a party of 100 women. And then 2019, we had 100.
Oh, that's a really great idea.
We had over 100 women. Okay. And so at that time, and the thing is, it went from a moment to a movement pretty fast. But I was reflecting on it, like, how did it go from just a moment to a movement? And what did I do? But I did a lot of unscalable things. So I did a lot of times I collected just enough money to pay for the food, and I just divided it amongst, like, I did Venmo me this. I literally, every Venmo that came in, I wrote it on a notebook. And until 2019, I did it manually. No automation, no nothing. And so 2020 was going to be a huge year for everybody. My goal was 250 women. Well, we all know what happened. But when 2022 came about, Sunny, the same lady that helped me with that private room, became the AC Marriott Hotel here in town. We have a brand new redevelopment of the waterfront, brand new AC Marriott. Cool. She became the same thing, director of catering and events. She called me and she said, hey, brand new Marriott, 7th floor, panoramic view of the Columbia, bring back your event. And I go, Sunny, we're fresh out of freaking COVID. I don't want to be in Marriott. Are you kidding? Marriott, me? Marriott hotel, brand new. Like, how much is that going to cost? You know, like the contract on that. Right. And she was like, don't worry, I got you. You sold out the last time. Everybody needs this. So I'm like, okay, this is my opportunity to turn it into a for-profit business. And when I did that, I rolled out sponsorship. We sold out everything. We sold out sponsorship. We sold out 110 seats. It was amazing. And then the rest was history. I trademarked it last year. We're on the final stretch of our trademark to sell franchises. And so I'm going to be traveling a lot to network with women.
And is it all, it's all women? Is this women based?
All women, but men can sponsor.
Smart. Can you attend if you sponsor or no?
You can attend. You can usher the women. You can work the event, but you can't participate in the event.
I think that's wise.
But
that's so good.
Yeah, I mean,
good for you.
There's a lot of things happening, but those are the two-prong approach: is make a lot of money, don't be scared of money, but also please share your wealth in the right manner, powerfully. So
yeah, I've always loved the approach to the tithe, that we're not giving 10%, God's allowing us to keep 90. You know, and it's like, it's a pretty good deal. You and the creator of the universe, you get 90, he gets 10, you know, like,
split.
So
90-10 split.
Right.
It's business, you know.
So it's a good split, right? It's just fresh on my mind because I watched that movie on the plane, but there's a great scene where Zac Efron and Hugh Jackman's characters form their business partnership, and being a musical, it's all very theatrical, but then it goes from them singing to them doing the deal. And he's kind of like, okay, I'll bite, you know, and then they go back and forth with percentages and they land on 10% and shake. And it's kind of a funny scene because Hugh Jackman, he's the one that comes from where we come from, nothing, right? And has built himself up to create this brand. And Zac Efron's character is a highbrow, you know, he's born into privilege. And even they wrote it so well when the shots are put on the table by the bartender, and it's just the two of them in this like kind of speakeasy, like we'll be in Eugene together, the speaker summit. He goes like this, kind of like, I don't have my wallet, and then the rich kid, who's really the one he's trying to recruit, pays for it. Like, that is such good writing, you know, that even though he's recruiting him to take on 10% of his company, he's like, yeah, I'm fresh out. So that scrappy, like, walk by faith, see the vision, swift. Yeah, it's just it's something that makes the world go round. You know, it really does.
Yeah, but I think that comes from a childhood that we had a scrap, you know, like there's a huge correlation. I know we started there, we're going to end there, right?
Yeah, it's perfect.
There's a huge correlation between the childhood you lived and how it was lived to becoming who you are, because many successful people like yourself, like many successful people I surround myself with, they always have a rough childhood. There is a correlation between childhood and successful adult people. So
yeah, I struggled.
That's the grapple that I was telling you about. Yeah. It's like, how do I create successful kids later on? You know, like,
yeah, I say this, you can't have one without the other. So it's like, and this is just real talk, like my marriage, it just couldn't sustain. Like, tried and tried, 15 years, 4 kids. We even had gotten divorced before, so, and got back together. It's a whole thing. But one of the things that was just a major struggle was I had done the thing that I needed to do to transcend out of the problem, right? And for somebody that wasn't raised that way, they think, so you're finished now, right? Like that, like you're good. Like you did. It's like, wait, what? Like, no, that bear is still chasing. You know, that what's next is still what's nexting. And you can't stop, won't stop. It's like, I wouldn't have gotten to this point if it was not a part of me. Like, I can't get that out of my core. And I just kind of realized you can't have one without the other. Like, if this is who you are, it came at a cost. You know, like that dope personality, that ability to rock the stage, that innovative thinking, that ingenuity, that sense of humor, right? I mean, you're not going to meet a lot of comics that had a picket fence cul-de-sac life. It just typically doesn't happen. There's something very dark and painful that humor comes from, or that beauty comes from. And it's cool to have held this space with you today, Kareen. I mean, we've known each other, but we haven't known each other, you know? So I feel so connected to you, and just thank you for being here with me today. I'm stoked to see you at Bloom together, and of course the MyCore Collective.
Appreciate you. And you mentioned Pain. If you haven't watched it, it's on Hulu. It's Limitless. Have you watched it? It's a 3-part documentary of Thor.
Cool.
Not Thor, but the character Thor, but his Chris Hemsworth. He talks about pain and what was it? How to become limitless in life. And he goes through this experiment. You have to watch it.
He does like crazy stuff, right? Like, I haven't seen it, but like, yeah.
He's also very pleasing to watch. He's
he's very easy to look at. Yeah.
But he learned how to drum, because he wanted to keep his brain engaged. And so he played at Ed Sheeran's concert with like 15,000 people. That was his first performance. So you kind of have that you and I have that limitless mentality, that
Yeah.
because we trust the Spirit and God, everything has no limit. And so he has that mentality, and he put himself through a various experiment of how limitless we really can be, and how our brain can our brain flesh can stop us from doing what we're
Right.
supposed to be created. But
And just to properly, I try to always honor my parents, even especially to counterbalance some of the real raw. But my family were all athletes, so we played every sport around the clock, around the year, and my mom would always write Philippians 4:13 on our napkin and the lunches she would prepare, and just that was like a staple philosophy, scripture, verse. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So it's that limitless. I think when that gets instilled in you too, your tolerance for risk, your ability to go through adversity. I think you put in your notes, the only way out is through, right? And you become that ant that just goes around, under, over, through. Like you just figure it the fuck out. You know what I mean? You just figure it out. So I am so humbled by the time we got to spend together. I'm stoked to see you next week and at the event. And I'll tell you, if someone's listening to this, like this is just or listening to this and considering on the fence, like you said, about taking the time, investing the time, energy, and money to be in Eugene for the MyCore Collective, just to hear the rest of Kareen's story in that setting, I'm going to be front row. I'm pumped. Like I've been building off the grid, and now I'm going to be poured into, you know what I mean? And soaking up and be like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, we need to talk. Like, and then I'm going to go, oh wait, this is our event. You know what I mean? Like I thought like we put this on. No way. So I'm yeah, right. It's freaking amazing. So thank you again. Much love.
Much love, my brother. Thank you.
Awesome.